Today's guest is Theresa Johnson from West Memphis, Arkansas, but she lives in Shiloh, Illinois now. And I know she's lived a bunch of other places in between because, like me, she is a military spouse. Theresa and I met in Germany in 2011, and I remember when she opened her mouth to speak, the calmest sounds I've ever heard came out. Her voice is the type that when she speaks, it's often just above a whisper, but it's so intense and it makes you feel like she has something important to say. And to be honest, that's usually the case. She always has some wisdom to share, and that's part of the reason I love her so much. Theresa uses her voice and her calming presence to encourage others in countless ways. She has certainly encouraged me, particularly in my faith. And that's why she's here today to talk about faith. Hi, Theresa.
Hi, Cecelia.
I'm so happy to see you.
And likewise, it's so good to see you and to be here.
Thank you for agreeing to do this and for being patient with the technology. My internet was slow one day. We were trying to record and we were looking for chargers earlier today. And just thank you for being patient with all of it. I love you. I felt like it needed to happen. So we were just going to keep pushing until it happened.
Thank you for being patient with me. Oh my goodness. I really appreciate it.
Well, honestly, the times that we had to reschedule, it's fine because it just gave us more opportunities to talk to each other. We don't usually
Yes.
talk to each other this many times in one month. So it was kind of nice
No?
that we got to connect a few different times. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about being a faith builder. You're such a person of faith. But first, I just want to ask you a few quick questions. I know you've listened to some of the episodes, so I like
Yes.
to ask some of these questions at the beginning. The
Yes.
first one for you, and I like our meeting story. I want you to tell everyone where we met or how we met.
Okay. So, my family and I were moving. We were moving from the St. Louis area to Germany, and we had a long layover. It was our first layover, our only layover. We were in the Baltimore, Maryland area, and I was shuffling my two children into the airport bathroom, the restroom, and I saw Cecelia in there as well. And I was like, how nice. She gets to brush her teeth. Self-care, what is that? Because I'm shuffling two children. And I
Yes.
thought, I remember that life, when I used to travel with my husband and, we were relaxed. And I thought, wow, she's such a gorgeous young lady. I
Oh.
would love to meet her one day, but I wish I could brush my teeth. I have Cheez-Its on my breath, but I just hope to meet her one day. And that's when I saw you and I thought you and your husband were such a sweet couple. And
Oh.
that's the first time I saw you, and I did get a chance to meet you eventually.
So I didn't know the part about the Baltimore airport. The part I remembered was in the airport in Germany. So
Mm,
we actually met, I think, in the bathroom after the flight
hmm
was all over. We met in the bathroom.
hmm hmm
And I don't know who approached whom, but what I remembered was you had these two little kids and this teeny, teeny, tiny waist and these strong arms. And you just looked all together. Your hair was
Yes.
bouncing and flowing, and you were so calm with the kids. And I loved that about you. And we didn't have phones. That was the thing because we were in the process of moving. So we didn't have phone numbers we could share. And we ended up sharing email addresses. And I remember just thinking, I hope I don't lose her. I hope I wrote down her email address correctly. I hope. And thank goodness you did not give me a fake email address because I would have been very sad. But yeah, we met in the airport bathroom. We met in the airport bathroom. So, what is your favorite friendship moment? Something that you and I have done together that is just memorable to you?
Well, not long after arriving to Germany, my husband got deployed,
Mm,
and that was a shock. I have two small children, and my husband got deployed for 4 months, and I was so tired. I was so tired. My body physically hurt. I thought he had been gone 3 months, and it was two. And I remember that day wanting to cry, looking at the calendar. It's only 2 months. And you called, or somehow we contacted each other, and you said, "Well, I'll come over and play with the kids." And you literally came over, you spent the night, and you got up that Saturday morning and you jumped on the trampoline and you wore them out. And that was the day you also told me you were a former cheerleader. So you were doing mid-air cheerleading stunts.
I was actually.
And I'm just sitting in the lawn, in the backyard in a lawn chair, just getting refueled, just watching someone play with my children. I'm a tired mom. I've done all the duties of the week, but I had no energy to play with my children. And here a friend comes over and just plays with my children for me. And that was a friendship moment for me. And you got ready to leave. I said, "Will you come back tonight?" I think you left running. You said, "Maybe." You didn't make it back, but that was enough for me to catch my breath.
Yes. I don't think I made it back. I was
You
child
didn't
free
make
at
it
that
back.
point. No, I didn't make it back. And
Lexi and Chase
my
have a lot
bad.
of,
Yeah, my bad on that one.
but it
Um,
was amazing. I just love that. You came over and played with my children for me.
aw. My friend Lauren in the very first episode, she said that people don't always remember things the way we remember them. And I don't think that was ever more clear to me until you just told that story. And I'll tell you that same story from my perspective.
Hmm.
Yes, your husband was deployed, and he had been for at least a couple months. But that day that I came over, my husband deployed.
Mm.
He deployed that morning, and you knew he was deploying. You were going through your own deployment, and I went to work, and you said, "Well, I know you're feeling something, so just come on over." And I was like, "No, no, no. You got your own kids. You got your own stuff going on. Like, I'm fine. I'll be fine." And you said, "No, just pack a little bag and come over, spend the
Yeah,
night."
I
And I
remember.
was like, "Spend the night? We're grown-ups. Like, we're going to do a sleepover? What is this?" So, but I did. I packed my little bag. I came straight from work, and I got to your house and we watched a movie with the kids. We ate dinner. I don't remember what you cooked, but you cooked dinner. We watched a movie with the kids. And then this was the sweetest thing ever, Teresa. Then it was bedtime and you tucked me in the bed like I was your own child. And I was 30 something years old, Teresa. Okay. And you put me in the bed and you pulled the covers up to my neck and you tucked me in like I was your own child. And it was so loving and so sweet. And you remember that you were tired and your husband was deployed, but I remember that in your exhaustion, you comforted me when my husband deployed. And then the next morning, it's true, we did get up and I was rested and I jumped on the trampoline with your kids, but it was just as much about me trying to relive my, cheerleader days as it was about playing with the kids. So I was hitting the toe touches and hurting later. I was taking
Yes,
Advil. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Um, but yes, it was just a really fun. I don't know how long I was there, 36 hours, but
Mhm.
that's the type of friend you are. And that's the type of friendship we have. And it's great. I love it. I love you. I really, really do.
I love you, girl. That was that was a weekend. That was a morning. I didn't even remember that your husband had deployed.
Yeah, he had
All I know
deployed.
is we were hanging it together. It was just,
Yep.
man, I needed you that day.
Yeah. And I needed you, and we were lucky that we had each other. We were
Yeah,
lucky we had each other.
yeah.
So I want to talk about building faith. And you probably know some of where this is going to go, but by the time I met you, I was already in my 30s. And my husband and I had been trying to have a baby at that point for years. I don't know how many years, 4, 5, 6 years. We had seen a fertility specialist in Ohio, when I was still in my 20s. We saw a fertility specialist in Japan when we lived there. We saw someone in Germany. And I don't know how much of that you knew. You certainly knew some of it, a little bit. I don't know what you knew, honestly. But little bits and pieces of your own story had come out during our conversations, our lunches, our dinners. So I knew some of your own story and that it wasn't always easy for you to build a family. But then your husband returned from deployment, my husband returned from deployment, and then it was time for us to move. And just before we moved, and I mean days before, not weeks or months, it was days before we moved, you said, well, just come over one last time, come over. And you were having some other women over, and we were doing kind of like a girls' night slash Bible study, faith. I don't remember what you were calling it, but you had us over. We ate, laughed, talked about God. So I came over to your house, and then just as I was leaving, we had stayed out late. It was dark, and we walked out to your street. And you said, I know you're leaving. I just want to give you this. And you slipped me this book called Supernatural Childbirth. And I couldn't see the details of the book in the dark, but I knew that it was related in some way to babies. And Theresa, I'm going to be honest with you. I was mad at you. I was mad at you for giving me that book because, again, I don't know how much of the situation you knew, but you knew some. You had actually driven me to one of the procedures that I had because my husband was deployed. So you had been for me already. You had been there for me in some of the medical situations, but I was mad. Like I was ready to move on. And my husband and we were already happy together. Like we had been married for several years. We loved each other. We had a good life. We were traveling the world. I thought the mommy part of my life was over. And, I was in my 30s. I didn't want to try anymore. My husband and I had had a conversation and we had agreed, like, we're good. We're happy. We're good. And you gave me that book and I was mad at you for encouraging me to try again. You didn't even say anything. You just gave me the book and I got in my car and I drove off mad. I drove off mad. I didn't want to have hope, honestly. I didn't want to pray about it. I didn't want to think about it anymore. And I moved away just a few days later, but I can't explain it. I mean, I can, but I can't. The movers came to pack up all our stuff, and I saw the book out, and I ran over and I grabbed the book and I put it in my carry-on luggage. Sorry, but I put it in my carry-on luggage. And when we got to our new house in Miami, I put the book in a drawer next to my bed. I didn't want to look at the book. I didn't want to see it, but I wanted to know where it was. So I put it in a drawer next to my bed. And a year later, I took the book out and I put it on my nightstand. So then I could at least see it. Then I started secretly looking through the book. I didn't share it with my husband. I just secretly looked through the book and, wanted to see what it was about. And I prayed some of the prayers. And then finally I took it to my husband and I said, look at this book that Theresa gave me. At this point, it had probably been a year and a half, 2 years before that. And, Theresa, it wasn't about, and he started praying with me. I left that part out. So he didn't just say, oh, cool book. Like he started praying through the book with me. But, I just want to be clear. It wasn't about the book. It was about building my faith. And God used you and other people I encountered after you gave me that book. My pastors, the Alessi family in Miami, they talked about some of their own challenges with starting their family. And by the time I met them, they had 4 children who were serving together with them in ministry. And I was going to a Bible study, BSF, in Miami. And my teaching leader there, Georgianne, loved her, respected her so, so, so much. She had shared some of her own challenges with us as well. And I don't know, everywhere I turned, everywhere I looked, at church, at, Bible study, I was meeting these women who had these stories, and I knew it wasn't a coincidence. God was using those women and men to increase my faith. And I really believe it started with you, though. It started with you and with that book, and me being open to just look at the book and talk to God again about this situation that I had experienced in my life. So I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, thank you for the book. Thank you for praying for me. Thank you for sharing your story. I got through the anger. I got through the fear. I got through all the stuff. We stayed friends, and my 3 little boys are here today. Like, I still look at them and I can't believe that not only did I have one, I have three. I still can't believe it. But I want to hear from you. Like, first of all, do you remember giving me the book? Do you remember this book?
I remember the book. I don't remember giving it to you, but I remember the appointments that we would go to. And there was a certain moment when I remember knowing that you were dealing with the same struggle because it's not something that we openly speak about,
Right,
especially military women, because we meet women that we do not have history with.
right,
When I met you, I had already come through that. So when you met me, you had already gone through certain seasons of it. So it was something I had to pick up on. That's not something you're going to meet me and say, hey, this is what Brian and I have. So just like when I saw you in the restroom, I saw myself. There was a certain, that appointment, that 6 a.m. appointment. We're riding through the dark villages. And that moment when I realized I see myself again, the woman who is dealing with that pain and, and almost ready to give up. I'll go to this procedure, but I don't know. And that's what I felt in that moment. And I remember speaking to you what a dear woman spoke to me. Cecelia, don't give up. It's worth it. And those are the only words that I held on to. It was her and a sister of mine. And I don't know why those words stuck with me. Don't give up. It's worth it. Because I was happy in my marriage. I wanted children but didn't need them.
right.
But God had satisfied me as a woman, as a wife. But there was a lady who handed me that book. And for me, that book, it gave me the verbiage to pray. And it also dealt with the pain. I needed somebody to give me the words to deal with this pain. So that's why I gave you that book, because you weren't going to spell it out to me. I knew that. But I wanted to put something in your hand to deal with the pain. You were definitely a whole woman. I could tell that. But there's a pain that we go through as women dealing with barrenness that has to be dealt with. And I didn't know where you were there.
Hmm.
So I put it in your hand just to deal with the pain and also give you the verbiage to continue to pray in case you were still asking God. So I just gave it to you and ducked just in case. I
Yeah.
didn't know if it made you angry, but I knew I needed the words because it helped me. So just in case you were there too, and I felt like you were, I felt like, let me give this to her. I couldn't let you leave
Yeah.
without putting that in your hands.
Well, thank you for giving me the book. Um, I remember calling you, and I think by the time I told you I was expecting my first son, I was already a few months along. but I remember where I was standing in my apartment, and I was just so excited to call you and tell you. I remember where I was standing. I remember dialing the number, and I just remember your response was something like, "Of course you are. Of course you are." And it was just that whisper. And I didn't tell you that we were trying. I just told you that I was like, "Yeah, we decided to go for it." Of course you did. And I said, "And I'm pregnant." And you were like, "Of course you are." Like your faith was already way beyond where mine was. But thank you for pulling me along. And I do wonder though, how did you get to a place of such faith? How did you become? I mean, you shared a little bit already. You had your own journey, you had your own struggle, but how did you get to the point where your faith wasn't shaken? You were able to come through, and you landed in this place of faith, and you were encouraging others. I mean, tell me what that looked like for you.
For me, just always sitting at the feet of strong women.
Hmm.
Always, every time I encountered something, running to God as opposed to running from Him, even if it was something that I caused, knowing that He would never turn me away, seeking Him for what the solution is. Now, that book, it was a compilation of scriptures concerning childbirth, but no matter what the situation, there's an answer, and knowing that He has it. My faith is shaken every day,
Hmm.
but knowing that I can run to Him, because when I run away from Him, it's trouble. It's trouble, and I learned that the hard way. And it took me a few times, but just a few. I learned to run to Him and wait for the answer. Just wait, and in the waiting, get around people who encourage me. I had those ladies, you talked about that community of people there. It's like everybody is building my faith in this area. I learned to tell them where I need my faith built, and then they would encourage me in that area. The
Hmm.
lady that gave me that book, she was my hairdresser.
Hmm.
She saw me go through miscarriage after miscarriage, and one day I went and I just sat in her chair. I said, "Stephanie, I need something. I need a word. I need something to hold on to. I need more than help me, Lord." And so it's letting people know where you're struggling and digging into the word for yourself. That's my go-to. And that's been able to strengthen me and undergird me to build my faith so that I'm not shaken to the core, to the point of feeling I need to walk away or I won't make it.
Yeah. So I hear you say, stay with God, run to Him
Run to
instead
Him.
of away from Him.
Hmm.
Get you some good girlfriends. Friendship, that's what we're here to talk about. Like, get you some good
Yes.
friends
Hmm.
who are not just out there having fun, but who are really in the trenches with you,
Yes.
encouraging you, praying for you, pushing you, even when you don't feel like being pushed sometimes, but
Yes.
pushing you in the right direction. And also get you a good hairdresser. Like you need a good hairdresser.
One filled with the word of God.
Get a good hairdresser. And I talked about that at the very beginning, how tough it is to find a good hairdresser. But a good hairdresser, like you leave feeling amazing. You leave with a book about God. It's yeah. No, but seriously, all jokes aside, like you gotta you gotta have the right people in your life, and
Hmm.
you're certainly one of those right people for me. Even before we started recording, and I told you I wasn't going to share, and I'm not. But before we
It's
started
okay.
recording, I was like, Teresa, I really need to talk to you about this. I need help. And you helped me. And I don't know who else I would have asked those questions to, at least not today.
Hmm.
So, yeah, you got to get the good people. You got to get the right people in your life for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, thank you, Teresa. Thank you for your example of faith. Thank you for sharing your testimony with me over and over and over again and giving me that book. I don't believe meeting you in the airport was a coincidence or a mistake. I believe God knew that I needed my faith to be built, and He used you to do it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, Theresa.
I love you,
I
Cecelia.
absolutely love you.
You're a blessing to me. You're a real blessing to me. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you.
My pleasure. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay,
Okay, bye.
bye.